I couldn't afford the ticket. Not even close. That's what I thought when my mom dropped the bombshell in the middle of breakfast last summer. We were sitting at the kitchen table, me in my worn-out hoodie, her in her usual oversized sweater, looking like she'd just woken up. It was one of those lazy mornings where the sun was too bright for my mood. Mom had been talking about this family vacation for weeks. A big trip to Italy. One of those bucket list things she'd been dreaming about since I was a kid. I knew it was going to be expensive, but I didn't think it'd hit this hard. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and tell us where you are listening. Your support means everything. She put her phone down and looked at me with that serious face she gets when she's not kidding around. Flights are $860 each, Sarah. If you can't afford it, you'll have to stay behind. I paused, spoon halfway to my mouth. Did she just say, stay behind? Like? Alone? I'm 23, not 13 anymore, but the thought of not going felt like a punch to the gut. The whole family was going, including my little brother and his girlfriend. And now I was being told to sit out because I didn't have $860 to burn. Didn't have $860. Or anywhere close to it. Sure, I could ask for the money, but she'd already given me the "you're old enough to pay for things yourself" lecture a few times before. I didn't want to make her feel bad, but I also didn't want to be the one who got left behind. I set the spoon down and tried to keep my voice even. I'll figure it out, I said. She smiled, like she always does when I try to convince her I've got everything under control. But it was that smile, the one that says, I've heard this before. The next few days, I spent hours scouring the internet for ways to make the $860 ticket happen. I was already working a part-time job at a local cafe and doing freelance graphic design for a couple of clients, but my savings account was practically non-existent. After paying for rent, groceries, and student loans, I barely had enough for takeout pizza and a few drinks with friends every other weekend. I looked into cheaper flights. The cheapest I could find was a flight for $720, but it had a 14-hour layover in Amsterdam, and the return flight didn't even leave until 3 days after the rest of the family came back. Not ideal, but at that point I was desperate. Then I thought, maybe I could borrow the money. But even asking felt like swallowing glass. I hate asking for help, especially when it comes to money. I didn't want to burden anyone. And after all, it wasn't like anyone in my family had spare cash lying around. I went back to my mom. Hey, so, I found a cheaper flight. It's not perfect, but it's under $750. I showed her the itinerary on my phone. She frowned. I don't know, honey. I really want us to all be together. You're going to be stuck in a weird layover, and your flight's not even the same return date. It's going to be such a hassle. I didn't care. I needed to go. But I kept my voice steady, tried not to sound too desperate. Look, I can manage. Please. It's all I'm asking. She sighed. All right. But just don't come crying to me when it turns into a disaster. That was the best I was going to get. So, I booked the flight. I figured out how to scrape together the money sum from my savings, a little from my next paycheck, and a loan from my aunt, who'd been guilt-tripping me about not asking for help in the first place. The flight was a go. But here's where it all went downhill. 3 days later, just a few hours before my flight, I was scrolling through my bank statement when I saw something odd. There was a $1,200 charge for the flight I'd booked. Wait, what? I checked the details again. The flight cost $720. There was no way I'd been charged $1,200. I clicked on the transaction. It said $1,200 for a round-trip ticket. Wait a minute. The charge didn't even match the flight I'd bought. I grabbed my phone and called the airline immediately. The customer service agent answered after a few rings. her voice bored and distant. "Thank you for calling Global Airlines. This is Jenna. How can I help you today?" "Hi," I said, trying to sound calm, but my heart was racing. "I booked a flight through your website, and I was charged $1,200 instead of $720. I don't understand. I want to get this sorted out before my flight leaves." There was a long pause, and I could hear her typing away in the background. "I'm sorry, ma'am. It seems the charges on your card are not for the flight you booked. They're for a premium package that includes extra luggage, priority boarding, and travel insurance. It was automatically added when you booked." "What?" I felt a cold rush of panic. No. I didn't sign up for any package. I only chose the basic economy option. Jenna didn't sound like she believed me. "Ma'am, I'm seeing here that the option was pre-selected when you made your booking. Did you not notice it?" I was ready to scream. No, I did not notice it because I never chose it. She insisted that I must have accidentally clicked it, but I knew damn well I hadn't. They had pre-selected it for me, and I've been charged without my consent. It wasn't just a mistake, it was sneaky. I had to act fast. I demanded they cancel the charges and fix it before I lost my flight. After a long, frustrating battle with customer service, and being put on hold more times than I care to remember, they agreed to reverse the charges for the premium package and refund the difference. But that didn't change the fact that I was still scrambling to make the flight work. The entire process took over 3 hours. I was barely able to make it to the airport on time. When I got to the gate, I pulled out my phone to check my emails and saw a new message from my mom. The subject line read, "I thought you couldn't afford the flight." My heart sank. The email was a link to a family group chat where she'd shared the details of the family's booking. As I opened the link, my stomach dropped. There, in black and white, was a breakdown of everyone's flights. My mom had paid the full $860 for each of us, except for me. I wasn't on the same flight as the rest of the family. They'd booked me on a separate, cheaper flight, with the same 14-hour layover I'd seen earlier. The one I had rejected. And to top it off, it was non-refundable. I couldn't believe it. My mom had done this. She had chosen the flight for me and assumed I'd be okay with it, but never told me about it. Instead, she had made me feel like I was just one step away from being the odd one out. I stood at the airport, a bit dazed, staring at my phone. The airline had fixed the overcharge issue, but I still felt like an idiot. I wanted to message my mom, but I didn't know what to say. Maybe she thought she was doing me a favor. Maybe she didn't realize how much it would sting. But now, after everything, I couldn't help but feel like I'd been left out before I even boarded the plane. I texted her. "Finally. I just saw the family booking. You booked me the 14-hour layover one. Why didn't you tell me?" She replied almost immediately. "I thought you'd be fine with it. It's cheaper, and it's only a layover." "You're being dramatic." I dropped my phone into my bag, deciding it wasn't worth responding. The rest of the trip wasn't as terrible as I'd imagined. I made it through the layovers, and Italy was breathtaking. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized I didn't just have to pay for a plane ticket, I had to pay for the privilege of being made to feel like an afterthought. Looking back, I don't know what I learned from all of this. Maybe just that things don't always work out the way you expect. But also, maybe it's time I started standing up for myself a little more. You can't always trust people to put you first. Sometimes you have to make sure you're a priority, even if it feels uncomfortable. Anyway, here's hoping the next trip goes a little smoother. That's a wrap on the first part. What do you think so far?